Okay, good evening, everyone. Ask the clerk to read the motion to convene an open meeting.
Yes, the recommendation is that council convenes an open session at 7:00 p.m.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Fisher, seconded by Councillor Fenning. All in favor? That is carried. This moment of reflection, each year on November the 11th, Canadians honor the courage and sacrifice of those who served their country during times of war, military conflict, and peace. Before we begin tonight's council meeting, let us take a moment to remember all those brave men and women who have served and all those who continue to serve. We are forever indebted to Canada's military personnel. On Remembrance Day and always, we remember and honor the achievements and sacrifices they made defending peace, freedom around the world. Take a moment of silence. Thank you. I would ask that Councillor Hallman read the territorial acknowledgement, please.
Today, November 7th, the Between the Lakes Treaty was signed 230 years ago. This treaty recognizes the work that we still have to do. Let's take time to learn and recognize the impacts of colonialism, injustice, and inequity. We've gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the neutral, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the settlers arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and to Mother Earth. We should only take what we need and leave it for others and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thank you, Councillor. There are no additions to the agenda. A motion to adopt the agenda. Mr. Clerk.
Recommendation is that the agenda as presented for Monday, November 7th, 2022 be adopted.
That is moved by Councillor Fenning, Councillor Gerber. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none. First item is the minutes from previous meetings. Clerk, read the recommendation, please.
The recommendation is that the minutes of the following meeting be adopted as presented, October 3rd, 2022, the regular meeting of council.
I have a mover and a seconder, please. That is moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Hallman. No comments, questions, or omissions or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. There are no public meetings this evening. There are no presentations. We now move into the consent agenda. If members of council have any questions and want to remove this item from the consent agenda, please indicate so now, as we will not take questions on the consent items unless it is requested to be removed to the regular agenda. Seeing none, seeing no requests, and ask the clerk to read the recommendation, please.
Yes, that the recommendations for consent items 1.1 and 1.2 be approved. Sorry, 11.1 and 11.2 be approved. Oh, I apologize.
Thank you. I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Fenning. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Now we come to reports. First report is from the CAO. Ms.
Thank you,
Chambers.
Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. At the beginning of each term, Council appoints members of the public to various committees of Council. Some committees are quasi-judicial, meaning the actions of the committee are prescribed in legislation and decisions are appealable to a tribunal. Other committees are advisory in nature and are appointed by Council to advise on such matters as Council deems expedient. Council appointed a number of committees throughout the 2018 to 2022 term, including quasi-judicial and advisory committees. Upon review of the terms of reference for the various committees of Council, staff are recommending that all committee terms of reference be updated to ensure that there is a clear mandate for the committee and that meeting procedures are consistent with the Township's procedural bylaw and meeting transparency requirements within the Municipal Act. In addition to the terms of reference, we're also recommending that the process for recruiting, selecting, and appointing members of the public to committees of Council be updated. A draft governance policy is being prepared and will be presented to the new Council in December. The governance policy will guide members of Council and staff with respect to the requirements for committees of Council, as well as the process for recruiting and making appointments to committees in accordance with guiding principles to help ensure the integrity of the process overall. Those guiding principles will include rights of members of Council to be fully involved in the appointment process, openness and transparency concerning the process, accessibility to enable qualified applicants to apply and serve, good representation of qualified applicants who can contribute constructively and effectively to committee work, equity and diversity so communities are representative as much as possible of the community they serve, fairness in the treatment of all applicants, and consistency of the process to uphold fairness. In order to implement these new community recruitment processes and the terms of reference, staff is requesting that Council extend the term of office for quasi-judicial committees until February 28th. This will allow those committees with specific legislative functions to continue if the need arises. That will include the Committee of Adjustment, the Dangerous Dog Appeal Committee, and Property Standards Committee. Although Heritage Wilmot Advisory Committee and Castle Kilbride Advisory Committee are not technically considered quasi-judicial committees, they do perform certain legislative functions, and therefore staff are also recommending that their membership be extended to February 28th. Staff are further requesting that advisory committees be temporarily suspended to allow for updated terms of reference to be drafted to ensure that their mandates are clear and that meeting procedures are consistent across all committees. And we did see with some of our existing terms of reference that there are some inconsistencies, and we would like to bring those into line. Since advisory committees are appointed by Council to advise on matters that Council deems expedient, it will also allow for input into the terms of reference and mandate by the new Council. The purpose of advisory committees is to provide citizen input into decision-making. We are nearing the completion of our communication strategy, which will also include recommendations on citizen engagement. Council can consider whether to appoint an advisory committee or conduct other methods of citizen engagement as appropriate, or perhaps both. Advisory committees include the Sustainability Working Group, Wilmot Trails Advisory Committee, and Community Safety and Crime Prevention Committee. The procedural bylaw does provide that committee appointments be made at the first regular meeting of Council or as soon thereafter as is reasonable. And because we want to update these terms of reference and policy, we're asking Council's approval to suspend those advisory groups and to extend the membership of the quasi-judicial groups, as well as Heritage Wilmot Advisory and Castle Kilbride, to allow us to continue business with those committees. So I will turn this over to council for any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Hallman.
Sorry, my video keeps saying it's unstable. So through the mayor, I can't support the suspending. I think that there's too many things that are important to continue with this, especially the sustainability committee and community safety aspect. So I will not be supporting that this evening.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chambers?
I should note, with respect to the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Engagement Committee, the terms of reference that were prepared do not actually outline a number of committee members. There's sort of a range of committee members, and we've had a number of resignations. So I believe at this time we only have one member left, plus the two former members of council who were appointed. At this time, I'm not sure if we could hold a meeting of that committee until we did some additional recruitment for that committee, because I don't believe we have a quorum any longer.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no further. Oh, Councillor Fisher, your hand disappeared into your light there next to you.
Through you, Mayor Armstrong, I will be supporting this. I think it's important that, like, our term's over, so I think it's important that the new council gets to shape how things go for them. And basically, it's going to be suspended. So, I mean, to me, that's we should just hold off and let the new council figure out what they would like to see.
Councillor Fanning?
I believe the CAO had her hand up, and I would hold until after she had a chance to speak.
Okay, Ms. Chambers?
Thank you. I did just also want to note that because these committees would temporarily not be meeting until after we've been able to renew these terms of reference and look at the new committee appointment policy. That does not mean that work on those initiatives would not still continue. In terms of the sustainability initiative, staff are still continuing to work on sustainability initiatives and are preparing and planning for work in the coming year in the 2023 budget. I've also been engaging with the CAOs of the rural townships as we recognize that we're going to have to add additional resources locally to be able to address this work and meet the sustainability targets that were approved by council. And so we're looking at ways that we can collaborate as rural townships to advance the work. And I think that will help to inform the need for committees going forward and any terms of reference and function of a future committee.
Thank you. Councillor Fanning?
To the mayor, I support the revision. I was part of asking for revision of the terms of reference, and so I support staff undertaking that process. I do hope to see these committees reinstated. Obviously, the sustainability one is one that is of particular importance, as you've noted, Ms. Chambers. And certainly our community has indicated a very strong support for both the Trails Advisory Committee and public safety. So I have faith that our incoming council will take that into consideration and proceed accordingly. But certainly do acknowledge that there is a need for revision of the terms of reference.
Thank you. See no further questions. I'll call the question. Mr. Clerk, would you?
Yes, the recommendation is that report CAO 2022-08 be received for information purposes, and further that staff be directed to prepare the necessary bylaws and resolutions to extend the term of appointment for the Heritage Wilmot Advisory Committee, Castle Kilbride Advisory Committee, and quasi-judicial committees to February 28, 2023, and further that the Sustainability Working Group, the Wilmot Trails Advisory Committee, and the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Engagement Committee be temporarily suspended pending a review of committees of council by the incoming council and adoption of a revised committee appointment policy.
Thank you. Have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Gerber. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So there's no correspondence, but just a reminder that all of council received an appreciation email from Mr. Poff, Mr. Brian Poff. So no bylaws, there's no notice of motions. Announcements. You have an announcement, Councillor Fanning?
Thank you, through the mayor. On my screen, it shows that Councillor Fisher got his hand up first, but
Well, he should have moved that lamp beside him because his hand disappears. Your problem jumped to his problem, so. I know.
well, this is our last council meeting together. I want to thank each member of council for the unique lessons that you have taught me over the last 4 years. And I want to thank the community. It's been an honor to serve. I, of course, am disappointed at the outcome of this election, but this is still my home. I still care about what happens here, and I'm still going to be around. Thank you again for the honor of serving for the last 4 years.
Thank you, Councillor Fanning. Councillor Fisher.
Through you, Mayor Armstrong, I have a few words I want to say too. So it has been a pleasure and a privilege to be in this role over the last 3 terms. And I've had a lot of opportunity to meet and develop special relationships with both my constituents and township staff. I have been very excited about the last 4 years, and lots of good stuff has happened. The advancement of the trail network, like in Baden Hills, is a good example. Formation of Let's Tree Wilmot, our commitment to the reduction of the greenhouse gases, Mike Scout wetlands. Thanks to the incredible support from Mike Scout and Phil Holst. And the opening of the soccer and football field at WO, hiring of our new CAO, Sharon Chambers, and the advancement of the waste management treatment plant, which will once again allow us to grow. I trust the people of Wilmot will welcome and support the new mayor and council and wish them well as they meet one another and learn the ropes. It would be first to say that staff are amazing and very accommodating. We realize that new councillors will have their own ideas, what they'd like to see, but also that staff are trained professionals and also have a big picture of what is needed in the township. In closing, I'd like to repeat, it has been an honor to represent Baden for 12 years. I always like to thank Mayor Armstrong for his 25 plus years of service. Wilmot Township's an awesome place to live, and I'm hopeful for a bright future. And the first thing I'm going to do is take Aaron Merritt and Jeff Mullen, who's off my speed dial. Little humor at the end.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher. Councillor Hallman.
Sorry, my video is off with unstable internet here, but my family is with me, so I'm speaking to them. My amazing children. The last 4 years while serving the community, I've constantly thought of you. In every moment, you made me think about the messages that we are sending to the next generation. I hope I've shown you that when you find your voice, you use it. I always considered those less fortunate and those who live outside of the margins. How the things we say, our actions, can tear people down or they can build them up. Challenging the status quo can look a lot like making trouble to those who want to maintain the status quo. Everything worth it is worth fighting for. The community's safety is worth fighting for. The injustices in the community are worth fighting for. Women's rights are worth fighting for. The LGBTQ community is worth fighting for. Indigenous people are worth fighting for. Marginalized people are worth fighting for. And you, my beautiful family, your futures were worth fighting for. Remembering that blowing out someone else's candle will never most people aren't being kind to you. Live a life that's empowering and full of love. When a flower doesn't bloom, we don't blame the flower. We fix the environment in which it grows. Sometimes that means doing really hard work, but it's always worth the really hard work. And I know this because I saw the hard work of Nono and Nona, Nana and Pappy, to ensure a better life for not only me and my generation, but for you and your generation. An even better and inclusive environment than I had. Fiace de Cepatas de Belleza, as long as there is life, there is hope.
Thank you, Councillor Hallman. Anyone else have anything that they wish to say before I say my little bit? Thank you. Let us recognize that this will be the final meeting of this term of council. And in the coming weeks, Wilmot ushers in a new council to lead the community forward for the next 4 years. While the past 4 years may be remembered for many challenging moments for the Wilmot community, including the COVID-19 pandemic, it will also be remembered for several amazing accomplishments. As council, we were able to deliver upon a number of key strategic priorities while adapting to COVID-19 pandemic work environment. And for that, our community is better. As we move the next term of council, we leave behind a strong and capable staff team that will support the community over a period of growth I want to thank my peers on council for their service to the Wilmot community and wish them well. For me personally, it has been my honor and privilege to serve the residents and businesses of Wilmot, and I look forward to all that lies ahead for our wonderful community. I would like to give the floor to CAO Sharon Chambers for a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank council for your contributions to the community of Wilmot, not only over the last 4 years, but also for some of our retiring members. You've had a long tenure serving on Wilmot Council. In 2018, we did have 3 new members of council, Councillors Hallman, Gordick, and Fenning, and then Councillor Gerber, 4 terms, 15 years, Councillor Fisher, 3 terms, 12 years, and Mayor Armstrong serving 28 years on council with 3 terms, 12 of those years as mayor. The past 4 years, we as a township have faced some of the most challenging issues of our time, the COVID-19 pandemic topping that list. Through the years 2020 and 2021, the township continued to provide core services to the residents and the business community while protecting the health, well-being, and safety of our residents. Just a few notable, I know some of you have noted some achievements, but I thought I would mention a couple. Updated corporate branding and introducing the new Wilmot logo. Asset management, you adopted a new asset management plan and approved the establishment of a dedicated infrastructure levy to support asset investments over the long term. You invested in infrastructure, and notable projects include Hannah and Lewis Street, Wilmot Church Street, Snyder's Road reconstruction, ongoing removal and replacement of Bridge Street Bridge, and the Kirkpatrick parking lot replacement. And of course, the Mike Scout Wetlands Preserve, which is now nearing completion, and development of the Wilmot Trails Network. You put a number of studies and master plans in place and undertook a number of modernization initiatives to plan for our future and modernize our service delivery. You've built a strong foundation for the new council to build upon. And finally, I'd like to thank council for giving me the opportunity to work here in this beautiful community and for your support over the last year. So on behalf of the corporate leadership team and all staff here at the township, we've enjoyed working with you to serve the residents of Wilmot Township, and we wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you. Very well said, Ms. Chambers. And I agree. And it was nice that staff brought themselves on screen so that the community can see the great group of people that are working on their behalf and acting on their behalf, and will be serving council to the best of their ability as they have in the past. I'm extremely proud of the people that work here and have always been that. We have a good group. So thank you very much for all your cooperation, your hard work, and your support and your tolerance. Thank you. Next item is the confirmatory bylaw.
The recommendation is that the confirmatory bylaw as attached to this agenda be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council on this date.
Moved by Councillor Fenning and Councillor Gerber. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And I ask the clerk to read the recommendation for adjournment.
Recommendation is that we do now adjourn to meet again at the call of the mayor.
And I will now make it official. First and last meeting that I wear the horse collar, and this is the last meeting. And now I officially call this council adjourned.